Contact established with the First Sons. Met a woman who called herself Jane, and she asked me a variety of questions, including whether or not I've ever exhibited extrasensory abilities. Told her I have dream-based ESP and involuntary telekinetic abilities. Jane seemed to mull this over for a while. Then she gave me an address. I was instructed to meet her there at midnight. No other details. 10-day communication delay due to being incapacitated. Met Jane outside of an abandoned warehouse. She put a black bag over my head, then led me in. Counted 2,000 steps and one right-hand turn. She sat me in a chair, strapped down my arms and legs, and left me there. Don't know how long I sat strapped to that chair, at least a couple of hours. Finally, the bag was removed, and this brute of a man stood in front of me. Had to be 7 feet tall and 400 pounds. He told me that he was going to beat me, and if I wanted him to stop, I'd have to do it mentally, with my mind. Then he punched me in the face. For the first 30 minutes or so of the beating, he focused on my midsection, hitting me square on the ribs. I tried to play along and squinted my eyes and gave him looks, trying to make it look like I was really doing something with my mind, but I just made him laugh. After landing 3 straight blows to my head, he bent over and told me to focus, to shape my thoughts and make them real. And if I couldn't do it, he was going to beat me to death. Then he punched me so damn hard I blacked out. Kept in the infirmary for several days. Had my own room, and other than a nurse, didn't see anyone. I tested the door 5 times, and it was always locked. Checked the IV, and they had me on a steady dose of Dolophine. So much for their healing abilities. Released from the infirmary. Initial assignment is installing and configuring satellite dishes across Empire City. When I asked what they planned on doing with the dishes, I was told to mind my own business. Because the dishes are relatively isolated and secure, I'll use them for my dead drops. Background information. The origin of the First Sons dates back to medieval Europe, exact date unknown. Because they were viewed as witches or in league with the devil, they were forced to flee to the New World in the 17th century. Once settled in America, the group continued their meetings and experiments, focusing on telekinesis, precognition, and channeling. This is probably apocryphal, but current members claim responsibility for what happened in Salem in 1692 and 93, and use those events to validate their mentalist abilities. Background information. Membership levels surged after the Civil War as they sought out people who shared their interests and beliefs. But it was the arrival of Richard Tate in 1892 that resulted in the creation of what we consider the First Sons. Tate's primary goal was to use the technology of the time to unlock the true power of mentalists. Tate firmly believed that emerging technologies, particularly the work of Edison, could be used to enhance the group's mental powers. Background information. According to the group's official history, research surged ahead and numerous breakthroughs were achieved under Tate's leadership. Side note, no evidence remains of any specific breakthroughs. Repeated requests to witness anything created during this era were denied. Side note, after Tate's death, the First Sons formally designated Empire City as their base of operations. Was introduced to Kessler today. He has some kind of metal device attached to his right arm, and his face is scarred, probably the result of an accident. One of the other guards told me that Kessler has been the leader of the First Sons for decades, but that he vanishes for long periods of time. Initial impression is that Kessler is a true believer. He has an agenda, and he's going to carry it out. We may have to move against him sooner than we had initially planned. Gained access to the primary lab. Audio surveillance will begin within the next 24 hours. I've placed 2 recording devices in the lab, which should provide optimal coverage. I'm also going to attempt to place devices within the cafeteria and other public places. Discovered a cache of documents relating to the work of Luigi Galvani. It's obvious that someone, probably Kessler, took Galvani's ideas of how electricity interacts with muscles and tried to expand it. Bunch of stuff here about creating a new kind of ion, but I don't understand it. Gonna copy all of this and send it to the P.O. box. Audio recording of Kessler follows.
Test subject number 345A is exhibiting remarkable signs of progress. The pituitary region of the brain has grown by 39%, and small muscle regeneration is nearly instantaneous. I do have some concerns with the lack of proper blood flow to the lower extremities. Oxygen absorption in those areas is off by 3.6%. A rather substantial decrease that could impact the subject's performance. We'll need to perform more tests.
Change in assignment. I'm now tasked with protecting a woman named Sasha. She's supposedly researching mind control techniques. Something with a spray or a gel. My gut tells me she's a honeypot, so I'll need to be careful around her. I escorted Sasha into the Warren tonight so that she could meet with some older man. Don't know his name, and Sasha made it clear she wanted the meet kept a secret. As for the Warren, it's even worse than I had imagined. Homeless people everywhere, people starving, buildings on the verge of falling down. Someone needs to take a bulldozer to that place. A romantic relationship has formed between Sasha and Kessler. Although it largely appears to be on the level, occasionally Sasha will mutter that Kessler isn't doing as he's told, or that she doesn't understand why he's different. She's clearly referencing something beyond the usual power dynamics present in any relationship. First glimpse of a device Kessler calls the Ray Sphere. It's about the size of a basketball and appears to be constructed from two halves that are connected via an array of electric cables and silicon boards. An unknown object occupies its center. At first blush, it looks like a bomb of some type. Gonna have to track it carefully. Audio recording of Kessler follows.
Experiment number 34J. Placing a male rat of average size into a lead box. The Ray Sphere is in a secondary chamber adjacent to test subject. All previous experiments have ended in instantaneous death of the subject. Closing the lid, activating the Ray Sphere. Ray Sphere is cycling down, and... wait. I can hear the subject moving. Unbelievable! It's flying! Damn it! Shoot it! Shoot it!
Kessler and Sasha had a very public falling out today. No real details about what prompted it, but it concluded with Sasha physically attacking Kessler. I was ordered to escort Sasha from the premises, which I did. As she left, Sasha turned and looked at me and said that she'd be back, that we'll suffer and die by her hand. Gotta admit, the look on her face freaked me out a bit. I expect to be reassigned to Kessler. Audio recording of Kessler follows.
Experiment 52C. A full-grown male chimpanzee is connected to the Ray Sphere via 6 electrodes. Mitch, go ahead and turn the meter to 10. The subject is experiencing minor discomfort. Turn it up to 15. Interesting. Let's go to 20. Subject is now in obvious pain and is bleeding from the nose and ears. Go up to 28, Mitch. Damn it. Well, that didn't work as I expected. Mitch, get someone in here to clean that up.
Audio recording of Kessler follows.
Animal-based trials have proven to be an effective, if limited, means of experimentation. Because animals lack the advanced cognitive thinking of humans, the Ray Sphere literally forces extraordinary abilities upon the test subject. That said, all data suggests that in the event the Ray Sphere is activated in the presence of a human conduit, the results will be extremely impressive. Abilities should manifest within 1 to 48 hours, and given the right circumstances, the conduit will have full control of their powers within 3 weeks. Current testing shows that the sphere has no effect on humans that are not conduits.
Is anyone over there listening to these drops? It's been 2 weeks since I've had any contact with the agency, and the stuff I'm seeing is a million times worse than what we expected. Animals with superpowers, people moving things with their minds. You can't expect me to handle all of this all on my own. Audio recording of Kessler follows.
Yes, I'd like to schedule a package for delivery. No, just one. Would it be possible to request a specific courier? I see. Well, I'm sure they're all reliable, but there's only one I trust. His name is Cole McGrath. Yes, I'll hold.
Based on the evidence I've collected, I'm recommending immediate action be taken against Kessler. Because of the threat he poses to national security, Kessler qualifies for extraordinary rendition pursuant to subsection 34C of the Patriot Act. Please advise. Audio recording of Kessler follows.
Final preparations nearly complete. The device will be delivered to the corner of 19th and Sloat at 1900 hours, with detonation following 2 minutes later. Post-blast, the device will be retrieved and placed into stasis while I await the results. In case the event doesn't bring about the desired results, a second event will be scheduled.
Listen, I'm sick and tired of getting the runaround. My handler has vanished and no one is returning my calls. How much more evidence do you need? If this goes down, it'll be on your hands, not mine. You let this happen. I couldn't stop Kessler from detonating the ray sphere. Damn thing took out 5 or 6 square blocks, killed God knows how many. Found the ray sphere in the blast crater next to some kid. Don't know if he was dead or not, didn't have time to check. I'm gonna try and hole up somewhere. If anyone is even listening to these things, I need immediate extraction. Please, you've got to get me out of here before Kessler finds me. Those damn transients, or dustmen, whatever they're called, found me. Busted in while I was sleeping and took the ray sphere. I shot 2 of them, but the others lost me. I don't know the city as well as they do. I have a single cache of UAVs hidden near the docks. Gonna deploy them and see if I can figure out where they took the ray sphere.
Agent White, this is NSA Director Houston. Your operation has been terminated. No one is blaming you for what happened. We know you did everything you could. We will have a chopper at Drop Point Zeta every day at 1650 hours. It's time for you to come home.
Made initial contact with Cole McGrath, the so-called Electric Man, and enlisted his help. Seems to have a good head on his shoulders, but he's been duped into working for someone called Moya. My gut says she's either with a rival agency, a foreign power, or is working for Kessler. I'd love to get my hands on her and find out what she knows. Watched some of Kessler's goons raid the TV station that the so-called Voice of Survival was using. He tried to send out a final broadcast, but they killed him before he could say much. Too bad it ended the way it did. Kinda like that kid. Been spending a lot of time thinking about what's happened here. The CDC suddenly getting military units. FEMA acting like a law enforcement agency. No word at all from anyone in the NSA. And God knows what the FBI is doing. Seems like someone is setting the stage for a fundamental shift in the way this country works and who runs it. If we don't destroy the ray sphere, there could be people like Cole everywhere. And who would stop them? Nobody.